This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on the South Today, Dunedin midwives were among the first to walk off the job as part of nationwide protests. Movements of a North Dunedin bus stop have confused motorists looking for parks on North roads. And funeral services have been announced for some of the young victims of a horror crash near Timaru as friends visit the site. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Sophie Morris. Midwives walked off the job on Monday morning in a bid to deliver a strong health message about their pay and work conditions. Members of the Midwifery Employee Representation and Advisory Service held an 8-hour strike from 11 a.m. as part of a nationwide week of action.
Midwives at Dunedin Public Hospital say they're at breaking point as the numbers of them working at DPH are at emergency levels. Kylie Fraser has been a midwife for nearly 20 years and says it's never been this bad.
When I first got into midwifery, there was heaps of midwives. In fact, when I first got in, it was really hard to get a job at the hospital, and there was a big struggle to get a full caseload because there was so many LMCs. So it was a fantastic low-ish pressure job. And over the last 18 years, the numbers have dwindled so significantly that now there's about 13 or 14 LMCs in the community. And we are now about 50% staffed with registered nurses, which is fantastic. They've filled the gaps in the hospital.
The union looking after midwives says there's a national shortage of lead maternity carers. Midwives say their priority is the health of expectant mothers and in utero babies, so regular scheduled appointments, treatments and clinics continued today. Kylie Fraser says she loves her work, but feels it's unsustainable as there's a desperate shortage of carers.
But we need midwives. We need midwives to help mothers and babies in our unit. So it's really, really devastating to be a passionate midwife and not be able to give the care that you think that women and babies, or pregnant people and babies, deserve.
She says the profession has become incredibly stressful and the pay doesn't reflect the life and death decisions which need to be made in many situations. Today's action is part of a nationwide week of rolling stoppages, culminating with a rally at Parliament on Thursday. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Staff at one of Dunedin's largest employers are at what's said to be breaking point due to a bungled restructure, according to a union survey. The Accident Compensation Corporation, commonly known as the ACC, employs about 480 staff in Dunedin. It recently announced a $74 million restructure of its operations to raise productivity and make the ACC more client-centric. However, the Public Service Association says union members tell them it's having the opposite effect. Local PSA organiser Sean Scott says case managers now have overwhelming caseloads and staff face huge backlogs of work. He says rising stress and job dissatisfaction is resulting in staff leaving the employer. Dunedin workers were taking part in a nationwide survey. The moving of a bus stop by just a few metres at the busy garden shopping area in North Dunedin is creating confusion for some. It's taking some regular visitors a while to learn that the bus stop and a former P30 car parking area have been swapped around.
Confusion has reigned at this North Dunedin bus stop after the Dunedin City Council shifted the bus stop markings and much later on the signs, swapping a P30 area for a bus stop and changing a former bus stop into a P30. Opaho resident Jamin Halberstadt was a regular user of the former P30 while shopping at the Gardens Corner.
We just live up in Opaho, so we come to the bagel place out every day. So just usually pull up and then grab a couple fresh bagels and then pull away.
It was not until parking there this morning that he learned that the P30 and bus stop have been swapped over.
It's just that Well, I didn't even notice, but the guy inside said just watch out because the bus stop and the parking areas have been swapped around. So I don't know. I don't think it was like this yesterday, but I don't know. I don't come literally every day, so I might have missed it.
The Dunedin Tramways Union says the new bus stop does not allow bus drivers to get close to the curb for older passengers, and is also concerns about hitting the shop veranda above. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Former warehouse site in Dunedin's McLagan Street has been leased temporarily to neighbouring retail store Harvey Norman. In June, Port Otago spent $10 million buying the building with plans to redevelop it into the new Otago Regional Council office. Port Otago says Harvey Norman took over a 6-month lease at the property when the building sale was settled last Monday. Harvey Norman planned to use the site for temporary warehousing. Redeveloping the building into council offices is expected to take up to 2 years. Funeral plans for 5 teenage boys killed in a car crash in Timaru on Saturday night have been announced, while friends have been paying their respects at the accident site.
Danny Black was amongst those paying their respects to the 5 teens who lost their lives when the Nissan Bluebird they were passengers in hit this pole with enough force to rip the car in half on Saturday night. Black says it still seems unreal, but she needed to visit the site.
Peace of mind, I guess. I didn't believe it yesterday. I thought it was all a big prank because Joey was very out there, and so I just thought it was a big bad prank, but it's not. I wish it was.
The families of the young men who lost their lives have begun announcing funeral plans. 15-year-old Andrew Goodyer is to be farewelled on Thursday. Javani Drummond's funeral is set to be on Friday, while Nico Hill's funeral is still to be finalised. Danny Black was friends with Javani Drummond and Joseph Joey McCarthy. She says Joey had a generous spirit.
He would go above and beyond for his friends. He had a really big heart, and he did love a lot of people. He was wonderful.
Police Aoraki Area Commander Inspector Dave Gaskin says it's too early to say if the driver will be charged, but says the after effects of horrific events like this will be with the community and especially whānau for many years to come.
Any crash where someone loses a life is a tragedy, and I think the tragedy goes to the family forever. Obviously 5 young boys at that age losing life is terrible. Unfortunately, young people in vehicles do silly things. Sometimes the consequences are serious.
He says from observations at the scene, he suspects both speed and alcohol were factors. The driver, 19-year-old Tyrese Fleming, was on a restricted licence and was the only person to survive the smash. In Timaru, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today. St John's say there is increasing demand for ambulances in the south, and tomorrow marks 40 years since the Springbok tour of 1981 divided the nation. We'll see you after the break.
All new episodes of Put Some Colour in Your Life are now screening on Channel 39. Take a look at Australian artists and the techniques they use in their studio. Put Some Colour in Your Life. Tuesdays, 7:30.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Hi, it's Lindsay here from Alex Campbell Menswear. We have a massive manufacturer's clearance plus. There's liquidated stock from our suppliers. For example, we have cotton casual trousers from 1990, dress trousers from 1990, merino zip pullovers, fashion shirts, warm winter shirts, jackets. There's a great deal on overcoats, blazers and suits. Come and check out our jeans. We're known for our jean selection.
Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Come in and see the massive manufacturer's clearance at Alex Campbell Menswear.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Be sure to tune in to Football Chat every week, where we chat about local football fixtures, results and everything else that's happening in the local game.
Ah, TV, our favourite babysitter. But it can be tough keeping up with what our tamariki are watching. Luckily, the Broadcasting Standards Authority has made some smart changes to the classification labels. Ooh! Plus changes to the time of day certain rated shows will air, and awesome new parental lock features, meaning your babysitter's job is safe. Find out more at safeviewing.co.nz.
Hey, what have you got? Okay. Chicks World, party time, excellent. Love it. Chicks World. Chicks World. Right.
Welcome back. More than 5,000 southern people have had to wait more than an hour for an ambulance since 2019, taking an emotional toll on stretched ambulance crews. The union representing St John's staff say a lack of resourcing is becoming increasingly critical, and there have been mounting calls for the government to increase its funding. St John's say there is increasing demand and patients with life-threatening conditions have to be prioritised. In a positive update, Dunedin Stretched St John's service is set to be boosted by a new ambulance and staff. St John confirmed yesterday that an extra ambulance and 6 new staff will support the Mosgiel, Dunedin and South Otago areas from December. The news follows a spate of recent stories about delays in the south. The Springbok tour of New Zealand in 1981 divided the nation, leaving a scar on the collective memories of people across the country. Tomorrow marks exactly 40 years since the controversial visiting team played against Otago at Carisbrook. Otago Daily Times reporter Daisy Hudson talks to one of the policemen who was on the front line on that day.
When you walk past Dunedin's Carisbrook Stadium today, all you'll see is a jumble of concrete and weeds. The only sounds you'll hear are the rumble of passing traffic and the odd construction noise. But 40 years ago, the House of Pain was the scene of arguably one of the most controversial games of footy in Otago history. As Otago and the visiting Springboks faced off on the pitch, more than 1,000 protesters were facing off against police on the southern motorway. Anti-tour sentiment had been steadily rising for months. Only in its early stages, the tour had already been marred by violence. A game in Hamilton had been called off because protesters stormed the pitch. While the Boks had been warmly welcomed in Invercargill, Dunedin was a different story. On the southern motorway on August 11th, 1981, was Constable Alan Grindell.
1981, I'd been in the police about, 5 years. Local rugby club player, I guess you'd say sort of young man, keen on sports and things. And when it was first mentioned about the Springboks, who were the greatest foes for the All Blacks, and you know, you were I think this could be fairly special, particularly playing the old enemy, the old foe at rugby. So, and then you become aware that there was quite a lot of opposition to the tour in the country. And of course, Mr. Muldoon made it pretty clear that, in his view, that the tour would go ahead because sports and politics don't mix. And I think naively, them days, I had to agree with him. That was where my view stood. I knew that at that time there was a fair bit of opposition, but as I said, naively we believe that sports and politics don't mix. People should be able to play rugby if they want to. Match day, so once they were put at the ground, we were basically on standby. There was obviously, we had people out in the field, intelligence I suppose you'd call them, I don't know if they were called them in them days, but and there was information coming through of a protest march. I can't remember the numbers now, but it was more in the hundreds and thousands. But it walked down the one-way street and onto the was a new motorway then through the Oval. So we were deployed, and we were on the motorway, and then we put what we call a skirmish line, and so there was a line of police staff across the motorway to stop the march. So they came up and they stopped just short of us. We didn't have full riot gear, which riot gear wasn't that comprehensive them days anyway, but we did have our long batons, and we had the old Bobby helmet, which some of the older people will remember. We wore those with our greatcoats. As they approached us, we did, I do recall now, we did get an order to draw our batons, so we stood in a line with our batons like this. The batons were what they used to call a PR-24, which is a long baton with a handle, and you just hold it straight. And the aim for those, if there was any conflict, you pushed forward, so you weren't hitting people like this or anything, so it was just a push like that. But anyway, we didn't need that. We stood across the line, batons there. Several of the protesters come forward with like olive branches sort of things and put them over the batons and things, so it was reasonably light-hearted, I have to say, that time, and it was a wee bit of taunting, but generally pretty good. So we stayed there as a bit of a face-off for quite a while. I think eventually they just turned around and walked off. It was those ones, the genuine, you know, your neighbour ones, that sort of changed my mind pretty much. And yeah, it was naive of me to ever think that sports and politics doesn't mix, and this country can never go through that again.
After the break on the South Today, the tiny school of Millers Flat hosts a sports tournament with students from across Otago and Southland, and we check out the weather.
All new episodes of Put Some Colour in Your Life are now screening on Channel 39. Take a look at Australian artists and the techniques they use in their studio. Put Some Colour in Your Life, Tuesdays, 7:30.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Hi, it's Lindsay here from Alex Campbell Menswear. We have a massive manufacturer's clearance plus. There's liquidated stock from our suppliers. For example, we have cotton casual trousers from 1990, dress trousers from 1990, merino zip pullovers, fashion shirts, warm winter shirts, jackets. There's a great deal on overcoats, blazers and suits. Come and check out our jeans. We're known for our jean selection.
Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Come in and see the massive manufacturer's clearance at Alex Campbell Menswear.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
MTF Finance can help you turn the key on your next vehicle with a loan made just for you. TCs and lending criteria apply.
Hey, what have you got? Okay. Chicks World, party time, excellent. Love it. Chicks World. Chicks World.
Welcome back. Each year, the tiny school of Miller's Flat, which has a roll of only about 30 pupils, hosts a sports tournament. This year, the event drew over 1,000 primary school pupils from across Otago and Southland.
Over 1,000 school children took part in this year's Miller's Flat sports tournament on Saturday. Event organiser Scott Perkins says the day draws children from across Otago and Southland and serves as a good promotion for the township, which lies about 15 minutes drive down the valley from Roxburgh.
A lot of people actually don't even come to Miller's Flat because it's over the bridge, so people drive through, and there's a lot of people you go, oh, we didn't realise it was here, so that's quite cool. And it's the other side of it too is a lot of people have been coming they've come as kids and their parents come, so there's a bit of a legacy thing on it too. So no, that's good.
Saturday saw about 40 netball teams and about 70 rugby teams take part. The rugby was played as 7-a-side, with a less rough and tumble version called Ripper for the younger players. The annual tournament has been run by Miller's Flat School as a fundraiser for over 100 years, with many locals helping to make the day a success.
It's run by the school PTA, so hopefully most of the parents and the school's only 30 pupils with about 15 families, so but we also get people from the community helping as well, so helping out with the scoring and on the barbecue and things like that, so yeah, so it's a bit of a community day.
The Miller's Flat tournament is the only time of the year many of the teams in the wider region get a chance to face off against each other. In Miller's Flat, the South Today.
Now recapping tonight's top stories on the South Today. Dunedin midwives were among the first to walk off the job as part of nationwide protests. Movements of a North Dunedin bus stop have confused motorists looking for parking on North roads. And funeral services have been announced for some of the young victims of a horror crash near Timaru as friends visit the site. Now for a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome, Barry. Good evening.
Hello, how are you, Sophie?
Very well, how are you?
That's good. With the dark cloud of COVID hanging over us all, we look at the prospects of the All Blacks playing the Springboks in Dunedin next month. So we get views from a variety of people on that. And you know, to be fair, the chances are pretty slim at the moment, especially with the bubble still closed. So yes, we'll see how that plays out. I guess there's still a slim chance it'll happen. Another story we have, the South has one of the highest rates of illegal gun seizures in the country, and an increasing gang presence is being blamed for that. Another incident on Monday night in Dunedin, a woman was injured while riding in the boot of a car that crashed in Dunedin. Just 2 days, of course, after the tragic 5 deaths in Timaru, and of course one of those was found in the boot of a car, so not the smartest way to get around town, that's for sure. Bit of bad news for the Otago rugby team. Star winger Jonah Noriki, his campaign lasted all of 15 minutes. He's injured his knee and against Southland on Saturday, obviously, and is out for the season. So setback for the Otago rugby team.
Okay, well thank you Barry. All of that and more in tomorrow's ODT. And now for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Beginning with the southern view, an orange sky during last night's sunset. Looking at the situation, a strong northwesterly airflow will move over the region tomorrow, bringing milder temperatures but some rain to the west. A cool southwesterly change will spread north on Thursday with more widespread showers later in the day. Starting at the northwest of the South Island, showers and 13 degrees for Greymouth and Westport. To the northeast, sunshine here with 16 degrees in Nelson and 15 in Blenheim. To Canterbury, mostly sunny here with 12 degrees in Kaikoura, 13 degrees in Christchurch and 15 degrees in Ashburton. To the southern towns, fresh northwesterlies, cloud increasing and 14 degrees for the Catlins and Balclutha. Lumsden and Gore can expect fresh northwesterlies, cloud and 13 degrees. To the Central Lakes area, fresh northwesterlies and some cloud for most areas with 13 degrees in Queenstown, Wanaka and Alexandra. Te Anau can expect fresh northwesterlies, rain and 12 degrees. To the northern towns, light winds, fine conditions and 15 degrees for Timaru. Moderate northerlies, some high cloud and 15 for Oamaru, while Twizel and Marama can expect fresh northwesterlies, some clouds with 14 degrees in Twizel, 13 in Omarama. In Dunedin becoming fine tonight with a low of 6. Fine and sunny tomorrow, a little milder with moderate northerly winds, a high of 15 and a low of 8. High cloud increasing and thickening on Thursday with northerly winds becoming fresh and gusty. Some rain developing after dark with colder southwesterlies, a high of 16 and a low of 7. And in Invercargill, showers tonight with a low of 9. Cloudy with showers tomorrow and fresh gusty northwesterlies, a high of 13 and a low of 9. Rain on Thursday with strong northwesterlies at first. Colder southwesterlies developing during the afternoon with rain easing to showers, a high of 13 and a low of 7. That's all for our news this Tuesday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz. Follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.